You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in Northport, Florida. I'm on the road again. That's Willie Nelson playoff there. I'm actually heading my way back to Florida, and I am in North Carolina right now, sitting on 26 at a really nice pilot, but we've got great internet, and we're happy to be with our very special guest. I think for the first time on my show,
Yes.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself and give a little highlight of who you are.
Okay. Hi, John, and hi, listeners and viewers out there. My name is Jessica Nicola. I'm a local social worker in Port Charlotte, Florida, covering territories between Charlotte County and DeSoto County. I'm the director of behavioral health services for DeSoto Memorial Hospital and heading up our satellite location out in Port Charlotte.
DeSoto plays a very key part with one of our local doctors, Dr. Lee Gross. Um,
Okay.
speaks very highly. Speaks very highly of DeSoto County,
Oh,
um,
good.
and the hospital there, and does a lot of patient care. He can't speak highly enough. Oddly enough, that's where I got my COVID shot.
Okay, cool. Same.
So you know that
Yeah, we were
I
happy to
say
be able to
that
vaccinate a lot of people who wanted that.
absolutely, but I bring that into play because there's a good partnership within Sarasota County and Charlotte County and DeSoto County for the hospitalization side of it, and that partnership
Absolutely.
it's a good partnership to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean everybody's really committed to their county health improvement plans that will work towards the state's health improvement plans. And so we have to work together. It takes community and being at the hospital, we like to be the center of that. And we certainly see a lot of interesting things and things that need attention. And so in behavioral health services, we've gotten really good over the years at helping people to meet their unmet needs and be assistive towards their mental health and sometimes substance use recovery. Our IOP program is worth highlighting. We have wonderful group therapy, peer support, and nursing case management that goes on with our programs in both Arcadia and Port Charlotte. So we want to make sure your viewers know about those service options if they are looking for mental health treatment, that we have those options available in an outpatient basis. So not all of our hospital services, you don't have to stay overnight. There are some services that we're offering that are outpatient where you can come in, get some support during the day, get those treatment needs met during the day, and then safe to go home in the evening and keep coming back, keep getting better.
So you've got a lot going on there with um, you've got a lot going on there and in the Charlotte County area and the
Mm-hmm.
connection with the hospital. But can you give an overview of what behavioral health really does? I mean, there are a lot of people out there right now that may need mental health um, and some aid in that regard, but convincing them to go there. I mean, there's kind of this umbrella of uh, I think fear that we need to break down first.
Yeah, I agree. There's certainly stigma that comes with seeking mental health, but there's also just like a lack of awareness, lack of understanding to even know what to ask for, to even know, oh, this is a mental health issue, and maybe that's the type of professional I need to be speaking with. So our body, mind, spirit, it's always connected. And so to think about, ourselves separate from our brains, it's just it doesn't work like that. So we go get help when we break a leg, for instance. That's a no-brainer, right? Like, I know I need a doctor to reset my leg, and I need to be cast, and that's a medical thing that needs to go on. But the emotional side of it, like, maybe I broke my leg because I was speeding down the highway on my motorcycle, going way faster than I should have been because I really have a broken heart and I was running away from a relationship problem. And it's not as easy to say, hey, doc, I have that broken heart issue going on, or I have these emotional issues and they need attention as well. So we need to just be able to identify that emotional side of it when we're at risk, and those warning signs. And sometimes, like the scenario I described, it is connected to something physical as well. Sometimes that's when we notice the mental health, is when we start to have the physical symptoms that go with it. Classic one is chest pains, being mistaken for anxiety. I think I'm having a heart attack, but it's really a panic attack. That's something that needs coaching. And we certainly need to rule out the medical piece of it. But that's what we can do at DeSoto Memorial Hospital, is be able to stabilize the medical situation and then link you up, get you to the next step, the next phase in your recovery, because that's going to be a tough road ahead. The same scenario with the guy who crashed his motorcycle and broke his leg. Well, maybe he wasn't running from an emotional problem. Maybe it just purely was an accident. It was just an accident, and accidents happen. Well, he's still going to have mental fallout from that injury and that recovery. Probably has to miss work. He's probably got people depending on him who are really, not able to just drop everything and fix his meals and do all these things. Maybe even has kids that were counting on him to fix their meals. So these kinds of things have repercussions, and we need to be able to say, hey, I think that, maybe I need to call my therapist back up again. Maybe I need to get back into med management, or, whatever it was that was working before. I need to get a tune-up and get some support. So having those alliances, having those pathways in recovery, having them identified if you do need mental health, that's great. And it can be preventative for you as well down the road, and could be something that diverts you from needing inpatient hospitalization later on.
Well, and can we talk a little bit about, and I'm huge into tearing the barriers down, because we talk about mental health, and I promise you, if you had a room of 25 people, the minute that you say mental health, every single one of those people lock up.
They're thinking not me, but they're thinking about someone else they know.
100%. And
I'm one of them. I resist it too.
Yeah, well, one of those things that happens out in society is that it doesn't matter how big or how small the problem is. A lot of times the smaller problems seem to me to start stockpiling, and then they build, and you get into a scenario where there's so many pressures that are happening that you're not even aware sometimes that you may be in need of just a conversation, just to let loose, just to let it go.
Yeah, exactly. People hold on to traumas, and then sometimes it's not until like somebody starts asking the right questions in a screening process that they realize, oh, maybe these things that happened before are significant. Because now the way that this person's asking these questions and these sequencing ways, it's like making me realize maybe that was at the root of it. So trauma, and I know we're talking about stressors building up, but when trauma is there, if that's what's buried there, we do tend to hold those traumas in our bodies. And if we don't process them, release them, and they're going to manifest and come out in weird ways. And so it does need attention. You might not be ready to give it the attention, but when you're ready and your readiness is there, that's when you can really see results, and you'll be willing to invest into yourself what the treatment is, investing into you as well. And when you do that, you'll be able to see progress and have more hopefulness about recovery in your future.
And
But
you've how long have you been in the industry?
so I've been a social worker. I started practicing with like my MSW and internship phase in 2005.
Okay. Well,
So I've been fully licensed and, supervising other social workers for, better part of 15 years.
well, and anybody like like my wife and I've got 27 years medical. So the one thing I'll have to say about social workers across the board is that you're definitely not in it to get rich. There is a commitment to and a loyalty to people
Right.
uh, as a social worker goes, and that's all I've ever seen out of social workers is their commitment to people. But talk a little bit about the privacy side,
Mm.
because that's also a barrier for a lot of people. They don't want their information out. They have that fear factor. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes when people want to talk about their personal issues, they don't have privacy and confidentiality, and they're not protected by the HIPAA law. But in healthcare, you are. So that's where you can count on having that records stay private and confidential. Then within our practice, because we are a hospital, right, and there's other service lines within our hospital, and there's a certain amount of sharing that needs to go on with referrals and that process. Well, behavioral health psychotherapy is extra protected health data. So nobody has access to that, to the point where nobody is even allowed to produce a medical records request other than myself for our behavioral health department in order to protect privacy that way, because it's a need to know basis and nobody else needs to know those things. That's between you and your mental health professional. So there's sometimes things that happen that not even the doctor is going to know about, because we're doing like a trauma scrub is what I would call it. So we're going sometimes really far back with a trauma narrative and those details, and the Hi, I'm back.
Sorry about that. What happened?
I don't know. I thought I was losing you, but I was losing myself.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
So
go
I'm
ahead.
back.
Sorry about
Sorry
that.
about that, guys.
But
It
but
was a
go
little
ahead.
internet blip. I honestly, what I think that is, John, I think it has to do with, back to the privacy. I think it has to do with the level of security that we have with our internet, and our capability to stream might be impacted by that, because we do have a really secure server here so that our medical record is protected from hacking. And so that maybe is what we're exactly what we were just about with privacy and confidentiality. Might have been what the viewers were experiencing there when you lost me. But
Well,
yeah,
but
so
but
stigma is
that's
a
actually
barrier, and say it again.
a good point that you're bringing up, because uh, I worked in the hospital, and we had all kinds of barriers set in place. And I forgot to mention that we are going to experience it, but there's a lot of great information that uh, interruptions like that actually prove is that the system is in play at the hospital,
Yes,
and and fortunately
that's
for
right.
us, we're going to battle our way through. But the privacy side of it is huge for you guys.
It is. Yeah, that sure is important to us. Coordinating care, offering options to assist the individual patient. Those are things that we want them to tell us who their doctors are, and how we can go about that. If we're going to fax communication, that's something that the patient is involved in those decisions. But one of the biggest barriers is funding. And I think that's one of the main things that causes disruption and impedes upon people's access to get into treatment. Is there's a lot of folks who just have no insurance funding and would not be able to self-pay for a treatment episode. So that's an unfortunate situation that we deal with in Florida and all over the nation, all over the world.
I was going to say, it seems to be there's a definite link between the care side of things and funding. And unfortunately, a lot of insurance companies out there don't have that coverage in there. Do you have any programs out there to assist patients with that?
Well, right now there's some grant funding, becoming more available. I think partially because we're in the after effects of Hurricane Ian, where that allows for more funding to become available for federal dollars to then come into our area and our territory. But yeah, it's difficult if you don't have funding, and a lot of people don't understand their insurance benefit when they do have a benefit. They don't understand that the behavioral health is sometimes like a third party carve out. And so that's something that, you have to be in network with that third party for the behavioral health coverage, not just like New Directions Behavioral Health, for instance. A lot of people don't realize that is who Blue Cross Blue Shield works with to cover the benefit. So a provider would need to be in network, not with just Florida Blue, but also New Directions, in order for it to be in network for that utilizer to use their coverage. So knowing your health benefit and being familiar with what coverage is will help you as well. So if there's another name, like another solve, like Optum, then you can ask those providers, do you take this Optum, even though it's really United Healthcare that's on the front of their card. I'm going to try to get out of the office, John, because I can see that this is going to be difficult for us with.
That's okay. Go ahead and try to do that, and I'll remove you just for a second.
Okay.
So, you've got DeSoto County. There's a location in Port Charlotte. The Port Charlotte location, while she's addressing that situation, the Central Park location is 4161 Tamiami Trail, Unit 302, Port Charlotte, Florida 33952. Their phone number is 941-766-0171. And then DeSoto Memorial, it's on the 3rd floor, and that's at 900 North Robert Avenue, Arcadia, Florida 34266. The phone number there is 863-491-4309. If you're trying to find a location, please feel free to call either one of those two locations and then run your insurance information, I believe, through them, and they will tell you whether you qualify for your insurance plan or not. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I kind of covered that a little bit just so you knew where I went. I gave the contact information, the two locations, and the phone numbers that were on the website.
Perfect.
And wanted to make sure that everything was moving forward. But talk about that privacy now that you're outside and proving our point that the solid walls inside the hospital are definitely protected. But go ahead
Yes.
and prove us that we're good to go outside.
Okay, yeah. So, and you can get to see a little bit about Central Park and this plaza too. So behind me this way we have, that's the VA primary clinic. And so we're right here, just a couple buildings down from them, where it's just a beautiful location. So it's like a home away from home, even though it is a hospital level of care. So you get that facility based treatment where you have those healthcare professionals who are hospital caliber and all the policies, procedures, all of that good stuff that comes with being a part of a hospital. But you just have this lovely home away from home clinic that you can enter where it's easy access, where we have a wheelchair ramp, but you don't have to travel, you know, very far to get where you're going into the building. So that makes the satellite location very nice. At the hospital, though, up on the third floor, there is a little bit more movement to get there, but we do have wheelchairs and devices that we can use to assist those people that need that extra assistance getting onto the unit.
Does and I'm going to ask this location, it would seem to me that it would take a little bit of fear out of the pressure of the hospital too sometimes.
It does. It does. And, for that privacy piece, sometimes I have my friends, like even my colleagues or family members of my colleagues out in Arcadia who need to come here for IOP because, they're using their own health plan benefit as well, where they're in network with their providers. And so we can go to different sites, go to that different territory. If you know too many people in Port Charlotte and you want to go upriver, you can do that. If you know too many people out in DeSoto, it's a small community, and you need to come down to the Port Charlotte office, then we can do that. So that helps with privacy as well.
You know,
We also have a van that's right here that we can pick you up, and you can see it's unmarked. So it's not like it says the hospital's name on it or anything like that to identify. It just looks like any service, that a cab that could be picking you up.
and anybody who's talked to anybody that has one identified themselves of me needing some and I don't want to say I want to call it mental health care.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe in mental health days where there are some times where you have to just kind of go in and open up the file box in your brain and throw files away and be
Yeah.
done with it. The opening those files back up again uh, can cause some harm, and knowing how to deal with all those situations is key for a healthcare provider. But can we talk about um, like a loved one that's dealing with somebody who has had some issues or has issues, and you're trying to encourage them to at least knock on the door and see what's on the other side?
Yeah. The best way to break stigma shame is to demonstrate that it's okay to get help. Sometimes the caregiver type person needs to also ask for help too, and show that getting therapy is not a punishment, it's a privilege. Because in families that does tend to get thrown around, like, if you don't knock this off, I'm sending you here,
Yeah.
or we're going to do this or that. And so instead of going that route, why not just say, hey, you know what, you got stuff going on, I can see you're struggling, you don't want to get help, that's okay, even though it's been recommended, I'm going to get the help, I could use the help, I'm going to raise my hand, and maybe these professionals can help me be a better caregiver and not be so codependent or enabling or whatever it is that's going on. So that tends to be the best way to break stigma shame, is to just demonstrate and just show that it's okay. I take medicine, or I see a therapist. Those are things that we need to be a little more open with when we're trying to encourage others because we don't want them to think like this is something for you, not for me. You know what I'm
That
saying? It
100%. But there's a double edge to that too, um, because there's, I hate to say it, but there's stressors for a loved one or a caregiver who's trying to get the patient to come in,
Yep.
and even dealing with the mental strain of that in a conversation sometimes, um, it just kind of pops that balloon and lets it all go and lets it all mellow out a little bit, and gives some, maybe some different structure on how to approach things. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, it does seem like people will be more willing to raise their hand and seek the service when there's a death. If they're grieving, grief and loss seems to be a time where um, it's a little bit more normative. I think the pandemic and the hurricane also offered that, because it was just like, yeah, of course we're stressed by trying to repair our homes and things like that, but this was really just one more thing on top of all the other things that had been compounding and piling up. Or maybe I should have gotten help after Charlie, and I neglected doing it then, but then now I certainly can't put it off because I'm going through this again, and it's really, maybe this is PTSD that's coming out.
Well,
And
and
so,
there was a lot of that. I went through, and I had said this on the show, probably, gosh, it was probably about 3 months ago, maybe sooner. But after the hurricane, I had a doctor's appointment in Sarasota. And so the difference between Toledo Blade, my neck of the woods, and Bee Ridge, night and day in the hurricane.
mm-hmm,
And I literally was fine in my own environment in total chaos until I got to normal
mm-hmm,
and I was driving down Bee Ridge. And when I walked into the doctor's office and I sat down, that was my moment. And everybody's going, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "You don't understand. It's too quiet here." Well, that effect of the hurricane and all the layers that brought, family, friends, neighbors, everyone that was involved, that you were trying to help, and pictures that were being taken and videos. I can only imagine where, yeah, and I'm going to say this, my friends would probably say, no, he needs all the help he can get. But I can only imagine that the senior base out there that is alone, had to go through a lot of this. A lot of the homeless that
mm-hmm.
were turned upside down from homeless to literally homeless,
Yeah.
because their areas were flooded, and so all their stuff was lost. And there's just different levels. I think that as a society, we have to kind of pay attention to and understand that mental health, wellness, is a big factor on success of our country.
Yes. And it's attending to that, right?
Yes.
And knowing when to attend to that. And sometimes people can um, like maladaptively linger in the medical settings to try to get that attention, and they really belong in the mental health setting where that attention they'll be able to meet the need and get those things addressed. A lot of times people are worried about talking to a social worker or a therapist. They think that that's going to be too revealing, but really the social worker and the therapist are just very skilled at goal setting. It's just giving you professional support on how to remove barriers and how to set some personal goals for yourself. You might not need a lot more after that. Once you have that plan, you might be ready to spread your wings, and you don't need that added support. You just need that time to structure your thoughts and take those next steps. If it's the past that's holding you back, then we might need to go to the past, and we might need to move forward with doing some backtracking. That's okay too. So whatever it takes.
So yeah, whatever it takes. That's a great line for anything in healthcare, because that seems to be the pattern, and the adjustments that always happens within the healthcare range. You've got Sean Kirkpatrick, who loved the episode. I hope the sound is getting better out there, Sean. We're trying to make some adjustments, so text us and let us know, or put it on Facebook, and I'll
Is
catch
that
that.
my friend from a Medisys?
It is, it is,
Oh, cool.
and
Cool. Yes, a Medisys is a great home health company. They're right across the way from us in Central Park. And they have an awesome, awesome psych nurse. Maggie, Cody, and I have been knowing each other for some time and had a lot of treatment success with helping folks recover, and where they're, she's going into the home, and then as they're graduating out of that home health treatment episode, then they might be ready to come on into Pathways and see what that experience is like to really maximize their recovery.
well, and there's a big piece right there that I think people miss a lot of times, and that's the home health side of things. Can you talk about that relationship with the home health nurses, the psych nurses out there of the
Yeah.
world, and why that's an important component?
Yeah, not everybody is ready. They're not all skilled to be able to come in and receive services. Maybe they are needing a little bit more work to transfer, to be able to have safe gait. They're not going to have a fall while they're in the program. So we don't want somebody coming in who's not medically stable to do that. And so the home health nurses, oh my gosh, the wound care that they're doing at home, the PT, sometimes it's speech, occupational stuff that goes on following a stroke. That recovery time, those people that are going through that, they really deserve the focus and that individualized treatment in the home. But then once they're ready to graduate from that, getting around others is a great way to then not feel so all alone, be able to relate, have empathy for others, not get so stuck in your head and so stuck in your own thoughts, but be able to, sit alongside somebody else who's also trying to cope. That is really beneficial and can be monumental in the overall recovery.
Let's talk about the staff in the
Okay.
Port in the Port Charlotte location,
Yes,
because
because we have some friends in common, don't we?
yes, we do, and you know, doors get pushed open in different ways through life, and life changes. But I want you to talk about how uh, that staff has a good foundation, and that anyone new walking in the door, what would be their expectation?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I came to work here at Twin Rivers Pathways, the satellite location for DeSoto Memorial, was because when I came in here, the first thought that I had was, oh, this is a place I would go for treatment. And the way that it feels like that home away from home, that is because of the staff. That is not just like the decor or the access to the building. That is that feeling that you get when people care. And I don't care who you are, when somebody really cares and when they don't. You know the difference between real care and fake care. And we got the real deal going on, and that is no doubt about that, because they're having a lot of success in treatment overall. They're getting a lot of praise from their patients. That if you go on to our reviews, you see that we have really high quality reviews with the patient care and the patient experience. And so it really is a dynamic team. They have a high energy, but they're going to meet you where you're at. So if you're low and you need someone to sit with you in the darkness, they're going to do that too, till you're ready to come to the light and be that light for others. But that's typically how they know when you've met your goals, is when they see you being that light for others and that positive inspiration. That's kind of how the process works. And that's why they keep coming back. The staff is so consistent and they come back just like the patients do because it's so rewarding. I had lunch with my husband today and I said, nobody's taking my job from me. I would fight for my job. That is something that I love doing. I love going to work because you can't do this anywhere else where you see that person brighten through the course of treatment. And we do get to be around our patients quite a bit. We get to know them really well because they come a high frequency of contact. So our folks are with us anywhere from 2 to 5 days a week for 3 hours a day. So the therapy program is intense, but it's something that they get to know each other really well and have a very high reward from that privilege of getting to know each other.
Yeah, well, and I like the fact that you use the word intensive. There is something to be said about any organization out there that is passively addressing mental health. You know, that passively addressing mental health almost is a negative to me. So that the wording that you use there is very important because
Okay.
the patient, I think it is, because the patient knows that they're that important to the organization itself. That you are, it is intense because the mental health is not a game.
Right. But you're right. When the patient joins on, they're part of the success. They're
Right.
part of that success story. So definitely that is important. And so just to kind of explain a little bit more about the different levels of care in behavioral health. So you have that traditional outpatient level of care, and that's where you can go and get like one-to-one or have like med management, and you might just see somebody like once a week or once a month. That's traditional outpatient, and it's effective. It works. There is evidence there, and it's a good treatment. But that area is flooded. That market is kind of hard to get into. So you'll wait list if you don't already have the one-to-one service going. You'll typically in this area, you have to wait for a seat to become available for you to get that one-to-one service if you want that face-to-face here in Southwest Florida. But if you are needing more and you can't wait, that's where we're able to handle more emergent situations. And our service request turnaround time is 24 hours. So if you call me this afternoon, then I have something for you on Monday.
And
So,
here's what I would, my question. My question to you, is it more important while you're waiting on that one-on-one to open up? Because
mm-hmm,
truthfully, any specialist out there right now, I don't care what it is in our areas, we're all waiting for those, whether it be mental health or the physical side of things. The specialists are just thinning out. They really are thinning out. And we've been going through this for about 20 years, believe it or not. And it's gotten us nowhere fast. But there are solutions with getting within the group, at least having that access and maybe even just initiating that contact and kind of opening up the channels of communication that way is much better than sitting at home waiting. Correct?
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, my best referral sources, like the nurses over at Millennium, what they will do is they will refer to IOP, they'll refer to Twin Rivers Pathways and traditional outpatient at the same time. So get going, get in to see somebody, get the doctor service happening sooner. The doctor service is within 5 days of the admission to the IOP. So we're able to, 24 hours for a service request and then 5 days to the doctor visit. We can get things started. And then by the time your number's called on that wait list, you've probably met your goals in IOP and you're ready to step down. to that lower level of care, and now your aftercare plan is going to sync up nicely. So people can do that for themselves. They don't need a nurse to do that for them. They can just call. That's actually how the treatment goes the best, is when people are volunteering themselves, they're calling themselves, they're asking the questions that they want to ask. Of course, if you need support from a family member, use that support from a family member. But that's usually what works the best, is to do both at once.
And I want to stick right there for a minute with the self initiation of care, and because that there seems to be, according to what you were saying, a difference with acceptance with that, and kind of talk about that so that people who may be out there listening right now or have friends that are listening and want to share this with them. What would you say to that patient or potential patient that's kind of on the fence? Do I call? Don't I call? What would you tell them?
Well, we're mental health primary in our IOP, and we can treat co-occurring disorders with substance use disorders, and we do that. But I think that's oftentimes what I hear is I get a phone call from the family member, from like mom, and she wants substance use services for her adult child. And that adult child really isn't ready. Mom's ready. Mom's been ready. The family member, the wife, or, whatever, they've been ready. It's just, they're not going to do it, and it's not going to work until they really want to do it. And so the best thing you really can do, instead of trying to push the substance user person into treatment that they're not ready for, is get yourself into treatment. Do what I said earlier. Show them that it's okay by you getting help. And I will promise you that problem with the enabling that goes on, especially if you're cohabitating with a substance user, that problem will get better because you'll gain assertiveness skills in the treatment that will help you to be able to set better limits. And when we baby the addict, that's when we might as well bury the addict. And that's a dangerous road to go down. So those types of service requests, I think, are more common, but there are just times where it's just like, the person just can't speak for themselves a whole lot right now. They might still be in the hospital, and that family member calling to initiate the service request is just fine. So, I'm not saying that that's the wrong way to do things, to, for family members to seek services for the other family members. I'm just saying these are some of the scenarios that you got to be mindful of and not play into the problem, but clear up the problem.
So two things. The caregiver side of things, been on that, done that. I've participated on the other side of that in providing. There's something to be said about a caregiver stress level, and whether it is dealing with a drug situation or just the mental side of being a caregiver to someone who's there full time, who is now not nursing home ready, but maybe going through some things and potentially going there. But there's a huge level that people don't take into consideration there as being that mental health need. Can you kind of highlight the patient caregiver side of mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying, that's a lot of times what we see in treatment is that the caregiver that has family members who are really worse off than them. They're struggling more than they are, and maybe still living in harm's way. So there's a lot of that, certainly, that goes on. But the caregiver burnout, the caregiver might not take care of themselves so well when those things are happening. They might be kind of giving up through that process as well. But also, they might be losing some of themselves with, what they're giving away. We don't all have unlimited amount of care that we can give without replenishing ourselves. So we really have to be thoughtful of that. And the problem I think that goes on is that if the caregiver feels sorry, sympathy, if there's a regret, like I'm going to give you an example, like maybe I'm a mom who had a child with trauma that happened during childhood. And I protected them once I found out it was happening, let's say. But there was abuse and, or there was like a molestation situation going on where I stopped it from happening. But now me as the mom, I feel very bad about that. I feel very guilty about that. Like I should have done something different. I should have protected him. I shouldn't have let that bus driver be around him. I should have known better. I should have known that that was happening sooner. Now, if I'm letting guilt now in adulthood and my child's an adult and I'm using that to justify, well, that's why he's addicted to drugs and that's why he's using it because he was molested when he was a kid. If my sympathy, my feeling sorry is in the driver's seat.
Oh, you froze. So she froze up here. Hopefully she'll come back online. I'm gonna pull.
And wanting to sit alongside them in the recovery, then it could go somewhere.
I know that you kind of froze up there a little bit right at the beginning.
Sorry.
But it's okay. The mental health facility in Northport, Sean was asking, do you have any insight on what's going in there?
I saw that, but no, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. I'm curious to learn now.
Well, and I'll definitely, Sean, I'll definitely find out exactly who that is and what's going in there. And I'll text that out as soon as we're done with the show and see if I can get a response. But, you know, it's ironic that, you know, the average age in Northport is 48 and we have a mental health facility actually being built in Northport. They're only going to build it if there's a need. And truly there is a need. The stressors that we have in everyday life, the stressors that we deal with, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be illnesses, whether it be, you know, just the unimaginable, which is what happens to us every day. There's just different levels of stress. And I think, there you go. So you kind of popped out of there and I popped out of there, but the stress levels.
Sorry, we're having some weather now.
Oh yeah, I heard it in the background, believe it or not. Yeah. So I figured as much. Why don't you just run out there and entertain us for the next 5 minutes and get rich? So we've got about 5 minutes
cool
left.
Off in Florida.
No doubt. Well, it's our afternoon showers. You know, the importance of the facility in Northport is because there's a need. And when there is a need at this level, they don't just build these buildings because they want to build them. They build them because there is a specific need in the area. And the amount of stress that Floridians have felt over the last 5 or 10 years with the hurricanes and everything else, there's just we just in Northport, 80% plus of our people drive away just to go to work every day. They don't even stay in their own city. Mm-hmm. So when you add the stress of a job, family, kids, activities, illnesses, and then you layer that with trying to drive on 75.
Yeah, commuting.
Commuting everywhere. You know, the average speed on 75 this morning was 80. And that was in the slow lane, according to my wife, who was going to Sarasota.
Wow.
And she said, I'm doing 80 miles an hour and they're passing me and I'm in the slow lane. And a lot of people are going to say there's no such thing as a slow lane and a fast lane. you're wrong. There are. If you're doing 70, stay out of the middle, please.
Yeah.
But that'll keep a lot of mental health issues off the road and road rage.
Oh, I know. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, that road rage alone is a serious problem.
It is. It is. It's amazing what we've covered today in a
Yeah,
short
we
period
have
of
covered
time
that.
with some audio issues. But I look forward to having you guys back on again and maybe digging in deeper and getting some other staff members
Okay.
involved. I think that would be kind of a cool thing
We
to
will.
talk about, discuss. And I just lost her again, so I know that she's probably going to pop back on here in a second. But that storm got you again.
I'm back. Yes.
Yeah, storm got you again. So uh, let's go ahead and sign off. But we'll have you back on. Give the contact information one last time if you can stay on that long.
Sure.
On,
The best thing to do is call me by phone, 941-766-0171. You could also email me if you wanted to start a conversation, and that's jnickola@dmh.org. Also, email me if you're looking for an internship, if you're a master's level student and you're working on counseling or social work. I do accept interns. I have a lovely internship program that you could really benefit from. And I'm looking also for patient transporters right now. So drivers out there, CNAs, you want to apply, please email me, send me your resume, and you can look for us, our ads on Indeed.
awesome. Well, I
Thank you, John.
appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch because we'll do something maybe in next quarter, and we'll have better audio.
Okay,
Because
yeah, and I'll probably do it from a different internet connection, so we don't
yeah,
have that issue anymore.
we'll figure it out. I promise. Whether I come
Okay,
down there
thank you.
or whatever we end up doing, we'll figure it out. But we'll make it a stronger show. And I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day.
Same. Thank you, John. You have a great rest of the day and drive safe, okay?
Thanks a lot. I
All
appreciate
right.
it. This is
Bye.
John Rollins with WKDW Real Talk saying thanks and have a good day. And DeSoto Behavioral, check them out. And if you need some help, please take the easy way and just pick up the phone and call them. At least you got friends on the other side now. We'll
That's
talk to you
right.
soon. All right. Bye bye now.